Second graders, today we are on Deep Dive Lesson 2 of Module 3. You will need your notebook, and if you would like to use your Martin Luther King Jr. book, you can grab your own copy. Today we're going to work on some more vocabulary, and we're going to talk about how we can figure out what a word means without looking in a dictionary and just using the words around the word that we don't know. When we have a word that we don't know, some things that we can do are look for words and phrases outside the word that gives clues. We can look inside the word for word parts we know, like prefixes, suffixes, and root words or base words. Or we could look at the pictures for extra information. Today, we're going to look at this word. This word says protest. So in your vocabulary section of your notebook, vocabulary section I believe is yellow. So grab your notebook, open it to the yellow section. We are going to draw this circle. Notice there's a small circle with the word protest and then a bigger circle around it. So if you need to pause the video to get your notebook or to find a blank page in your vocabulary section, you can pause now. And then we're going to look at page 13 of Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. On this page, we have the word protest. And I want you to think about what words around the word protest help us to understand what protest means. So I'll zoom in on page 13 here and I'll read it. Oops, okay. And that is why people are in Washington today. They have come to protest. They will speak out against something they think is wrong. What words on this page help us understand what the word protest means? We're going to write those words around the outside of the circle. So some words that I saw, and maybe you saw this too, was they will speak out against something they think is wrong. So I'm going to write that on the outside of my circle. Speak out against something. Oh, this is a little bit of a challenge. They think is wrong. So again, I saw that on this page with the word protest. They will speak out against something they think is wrong. So that helps me understand what protest means a little better. So if you need to pause the video to also have more time to write this in your circle, you may. If you don't have enough room in your circle, it's totally fine if you just write that next to protest. Speak out against something they think is wrong. Okay. Now in our vocab section, and you can use the same page if you still have room on the page with your circle, we are going to write protest and the meaning. And it does mean to state that you disagree or are angry about something. So you're not in agreement with something, and you are stating it or saying it or showing it. So again, write this in your vocabulary section. You can use the same page that you had the circle with the word protest in the middle. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm going to go back to page 13. want you to think about, how are the people in this picture protesting? Why are the people in this picture protesting? You might have noticed that they are protesting by holding up signs. These signs are asking for change. They're protesting because they disagree with unfair laws. And they're protesting by marching to show they want change. We're going to do another word today. And that word is refuse. And I'm going to fix this because it kind of fell off of the, oops. I'll rewrite it. So if you need a new page, go to a new page in your vocabulary section. Otherwise, you can use the same page. We're going to write refuse. And the same thing, we're going to do a small circle around it and then a larger circle. And we're going to look for clues from the book about the word refuse and what that might mean. And we're not going to do this with a partner today, but I am going to give you a hint on where we can look. We're going to look on page 22 of Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. If you don't have your book with you, that's okay. I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'll put it up on the screen here. I'll add a page. Okay, so I'm going to look at page 22 in my Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington page, or my book. Okay, looking at this page, we'll zoom in so we can see it all. Oh no, what's going on? Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, here's page 22. Show you the pictures too. Let's read it. There have been sit-ins in many cities. At sit-ins, black people take seats in white-only restaurants or theaters, and they refuse to leave. Often they are dragged out. So there's our word, refuse. So what on this page helps us understand what refuse means? You might have noticed the words dragged out. They refuse to leave, and then someone really wants them to leave. They get dragged out. I'm going to add that to the outer circle. Is there anything else? Maybe the word sit-ins, where they sit there and refuse to leave. So we'll add sit-ins to our circle. If you found any other clues, you can add them to your circle. Okay, and then either on the same page, or if you need a new page, move on to a new page. We are going to add the word refuse to our vocabulary section. So we'll write refuse. This is a verb, it's an action. It means to not be willing to do something, or to say no to doing something. So you can either write both, or if that looks like a lot for you, you can just write one of them. To not be willing to do something, or to say no to doing something. When you are done with that, you are done with the deep dive for today. So again, your job for the deep dive today is adding protest and refuse to your vocabulary section. You should also have the two circle charts with the words in the middle as well.